90% of people fail in communication because they don't understand this, and Dale Carnegie wrote it right here 90 years ago. 1. Don't criticize. Don't judge. The foundation of empathetic communication. One of the fundamental principles of effective communication, yet often overlooked, is, do not criticize. Do not condemn. Do not complain. Dale Carnegie placed this principle first in How to Win Friends and Influence People because he understood deeply. No one likes to be criticized, even when they are completely wrong. When criticized, the natural human reaction is to defend, resist, or justify oneself. Few people can calmly accept criticism without feeling their self-esteem hurt. Try putting yourself in that situation. The first emotion you feel when criticized is not acceptance, but a primal instinct to protect yourself. We tend to justify our actions with reasons we find logical, even if those reasons seem unreasonable to an outsider. For example, an employee being late may not necessarily be irresponsible. Perhaps they had just dropped their child off at school or spent a sleepless night caring for a sick child. When we rush to conclusions without understanding the circumstances, we not only hurt others but also cause cracks in the relationship. In such an environment, people become reluctant to share, hide their problems, or even engage in silent resistance, instead of opening up and working together towards solutions. Thus, instead of criticizing, shift your mindset to asking questions to understand. For instance, instead of accusing loudly, "You're so irresponsible for being late," gently ask, "Is there something that caused you to be late?" A question that shows goodwill, combined with a sincere listening attitude, will open the door to connection. When people feel heard, their defenses lower, tension eases, and they develop a greater sense of goodwill toward you, even when you later need to offer constructive feedback. The key lies not just in the words you say but in the attitude of understanding you carry within. An effective communicator is someone who restrains the urge to judge, observes more deeply, asks the right questions at the right moments, and maintains a humble spirit in the face of actions they do not fully comprehend. Carnegie emphasized, when dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion, bristling with prejudices and motivated by pride and vanity. Thus, criticism is not only useless but can also be counterproductive, destroying the opportunity to build long-lasting relationships. You might ask, what if the other person is genuinely wrong? The answer is, still, do not criticize immediately. Instead, guide them to recognize their mistake themselves through open-ended questions or by gently sharing your own experiences and perspectives. When people voluntarily recognize their errors, they are far more motivated to change than when forced through criticism. In every interaction, compassion and understanding are far more effective than criticism and condemnation. If you aspire to become a true influencer, start by understanding people as they are, rather than expecting them to act according to your personal standards. 2. Honest appreciation, the art of awakening goodness in others. In today's world, where pressure and expectations weigh heavily on everyone's shoulders, each person yearns to be acknowledged and appreciated. Dale Carnegie emphasized, one of the deepest urges in human nature is the desire to be important. And one of the simplest ways to fulfill that need is through sincere praise. Not superficial flattery, nor empty, meaningless compliments. True praise, born from careful observation and a sincere heart, has the power to awaken the best in people. Remember, praise has real value when it is specific and directly linked to the other person's action or quality. Instead of saying something generic like, "Good job," be specific, "I'm really impressed with how you handled that situation, you stayed calm, organized, and showed great respect to everyone involved." Such a compliment not only recognizes the person but also conveys a powerful message: I see your true value. When you praise correctly, you achieve three important things. Create connection. Sincere appreciation makes the listener feel valued and more willing to open up. Boost confidence. A well-timed compliment, especially when someone is doubting themselves, can be an invaluable source of encouragement. Encourage positive behavior. People tend to repeat behaviors that are acknowledged. A genuine compliment reinforces and promotes strengths. However, Carnegie also warned that praise must stem from genuine observation. Never compliment to curry favor or for short-term personal gain. Insincerity is easily perceived and can damage your credibility. Make it a daily habit to recognize the good in others. Don't wait for major achievements to express appreciation. Sometimes even the smallest efforts and quietest struggles deserve acknowledgement. A simple phrase like, "I see your effort and I truly appreciate it," can make a tremendous difference. And most importantly, praise not only benefits the recipient but also enriches your own heart. When you train yourself to notice the good in others, you naturally cultivate a more positive outlook on the world. A well-timed, sincere compliment can change not just someone's day, but their life. 3. Arouse in others an eager want. The key to motivating voluntary action. One of the most important principles of effective communication is to persuade someone to do something. Awaken in them the desire to do it. This is how Dale Carnegie highlighted the power of understanding people, rather than forcing or manipulating them. Think about it: when you want someone to change behavior, cooperate, or support your idea, are you approaching them from your own needs, or seeing things from their perspective? Most of us make a common mistake, trying to persuade based on what we want, talking about our needs and desires. But this rarely works. People fundamentally care most about things that relate to them, their lives, their emotions, and their personal interests. Therefore, if you want to influence someone, you must find out what motivates them. What do they truly want? Carnegie once wrote, "The only way to get anyone to do anything is by making them want to do it." For example, if you're a manager wanting employees to work harder, don't just say, "Let's work hard to meet the company's targets." Instead, connect the company's goals with their personal benefits. If our team hits the quarterly goal, you'll have a greater chance of rapid promotion and a performance bonus. This isn't a trick, it's the skill of linking collective goals with personal motivation, turning commands into voluntary choices. This requires empathy and keen observation. Take time to listen to others. Ask the right questions. And truly listen, not to respond, but to understand what drives them. Once you awaken their true desires, they will act not for you, but for themselves. And that's how you build long-term, sustainable cooperation. Furthermore, arousing desire in others shows deep respect. You see them as intentional beings with the right to choose, not tools to be manipulated. That respect is the bedrock of all strong relationships. Remember, to win hearts, don't force people to do what you want, inspire them to want to do it themselves. A good salesperson doesn't just sell a product, they sell the dream customers hope to achieve by owning it. A good leader doesn't issue orders, they inspire the team to move forward together. Arousing desire in others is the pinnacle of communication, where you lead through understanding, not control. 4. Honest appreciation, the gentle power of the heart. Humans have a deep and powerful need that is seldom admitted, the desire for recognition. Each of us longs to be respected, appreciated, and to feel that our existence has value. Dale Carnegie saw through this need when he wrote, "Give honest and sincere appreciation. But be mindful, appreciation is not flattery. There's a vast gap between the two. Flattery is fake and self-serving. True appreciation is sincere, rooted in respect. A real compliment holds value only when it is based on careful observation and heartfelt recognition." For example, instead of vaguely saying, "Good job," say something clearer, "I was genuinely impressed with how you handled the client's situation this morning, you were calm and skillful." Such specific praise not only makes the recipient feel valued but also helps them recognize their strengths and continue to develop them. When you learn to see the good in others and express that appreciation sincerely, you plant positive seeds in your relationships. Those seeds will eventually blossom into trust, affection, and wholehearted cooperation. In a work environment, A timely compliment can lift a team's spirit even more effectively than a bonus. In a family, a small recognition can melt away pressure and warm a loved one's heart. In social communication, the right compliment makes you more likable and trustworthy. However, the most important rule is, never fake it. People can sense insincerity, and it will harm your credibility rather than enhance it. Giving genuine compliments is a skill worth practicing, training your eyes to spot the positive, training your heart to appreciate, and training your words to be light yet powerful. Carnegie once said, even criminals yearn for sincere appreciation. If that's true, why are we so stingy with our praise for co-workers, family, and others around us? People who are silently striving every day become someone who sows inspiration through appreciation. And you'll find the world around you softening, relationships warming, and you'll be genuinely loved without even trying. 5. Arousing desire in others, the key to leading and persuading. Dale Carnegie once wrote, to influence others, talk about what they want and show them how to get it. It sounds simple, but this is a profoundly important principle, the foundation of the art of persuasion, leadership, and influence. In reality, people don't care about you as much as you might think. Each person lives within their own world, busy with their desires, worries, and personal goals. Therefore, if you only focus on talking about what you want, you'll quickly be ignored. Think about it, when you enter a conversation. Who do you listen to more, someone who constantly talks about their own achievements, or someone who asks about what matters to you? Exactly, we always pay more attention and open our hearts to those who touch upon our own desires. That's why Carnegie emphasized, if you want to influence others, start from their needs. If you're a salesperson, don't just talk about how great your product is, talk about how it solves the customer's problem. If you're a leader, don't force people to follow, awaken the motivation within them. A classic story illustrates this, how Abraham Lincoln persuaded a stubborn general. Instead of giving direct orders, Lincoln spent time understanding what the general truly wanted, fame and recognition. By creating opportunities for the general to achieve those things, Lincoln not only reached his military goals but also secured the general's loyalty. Persuasion is not about coercion, it's about guiding desires. Wise people don't push others to follow them by force, they quietly open the right door at the right time, the door that leads to what the other person is yearning for. And when people walk through that door, they don't just follow you, they feel grateful to you. This principle applies everywhere, from negotiating business deals, pitching ideas, educating children, to nurturing relationships. When you start with the question, what does this person truly want? You've already taken a giant step toward influencing them. Carnegie teaches us, understanding people is not about manipulation, it's about connection. And true connection only begins when we listen, observe, and genuinely help others achieve what they desire. 6. Make others feel important, and do it sincerely. One of the deepest human needs is the feeling of being valued. Dale Carnegie pointed out, the desire to feel important is one of the strongest urges in the human heart. We all long to be recognized, not just for great achievements, but sometimes simply for being listened to, respected, and seen as meaningful to someone. Carnegie emphasized that if you can satisfy this need for others, you will gain affection, loyalty, and cooperation, things that money or power cannot buy. But there is one prerequisite, you must be sincere. People can easily sense insincerity and forced flattery, and they will react negatively if they feel manipulated. How can you make others feel important sincerely? First, genuinely care. Put yourself in their shoes. Realize that every person you meet, from the coffee shop server to the busy executive, is struggling with their own hopes, worries, and dreams. They also yearn to be seen as a unique and valuable individual. A genuine smile, a timely compliment, a question that shows you're paying attention, these small acts can leave a lasting impression. For example, instead of just nodding absent-mindedly, truly listen when someone shares a story with you. When someone achieves something, no matter how small, congratulate them with sincere respect. When discussing, find and highlight others' good points and encourage them. Masters of communication like Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, and Franklin D. Roosevelt had the ability to make the person they were talking to feel like the most important individual in the room, not through flowery words, but through complete attention in every conversation. Carnegie taught, make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. If you truly believe that every human being deserves respect, it becomes natural for you to convey that recognition through your actions. And this sincerity will create a magical power, carrying you far in every relationship. When you give the gift of recognition, you not only help others feel better about themselves but also plant seeds of lasting, trust-filled relationships, something that everyone, in any era, deeply values. 7. The art of communication, don't argue. One of the most important lessons Dale Carnegie emphasized is, avoid arguments at all costs. He once said, the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. It sounds paradoxical, but it's true. When you argue, even if you win with superior reasoning, you may hurt the other person's pride and breed resentment. And the result? You lose in building the relationship, which is far more important than any theoretical victory. Carnegie explained that in arguments, people rarely change their opinions because of logic. Instead, they cling even tighter to their views to defend their ego. Direct confrontation only deepens the conflict. So if you shouldn't argue, what should you do when facing disagreements? First, respect the other person's opinion. Even if you disagree, you can gently say, I can understand why you would think that. Acknowledging their perspective doesn't mean you accept it, it simply gives you the opportunity to understand better and ease the tension. Second, look for common ground. In any conversation, there are always areas where you and the other person can agree, even if only in spirit. Starting from those agreements builds trust, which then allows you to guide the conversation more gently. Third, if you must disagree, ask questions instead of making statements. Instead of saying, you're wrong, ask, do you think there might be another way to look at this? This approach encourages the other person to open their mind instead of building a defensive wall. Above all, stay calm. When emotions flare, reason gets clouded. The calm person during a disagreement is always the one who controls the long-term outcome of the relationship. Throughout your life, you'll encounter countless situations where your instincts urge you to defend your opinion to the end. But remember Carnegie's words, a drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall. In communication, tact and gentleness are far more powerful than rigidity and aggressiveness. Avoiding arguments is not weakness. It is a sign of wisdom and self-control, qualities that make you likable, trustworthy, and easy to work with. 8. Persuasion secret, admit your mistakes quickly and honestly. Dale Carnegie pointed out that when you make a mistake, the best way to handle it is to admit it immediately and sincerely. No beating around the bush. No excuses. Face the mistake with straightforwardness and humility. Why is this important? First, proactively admitting your faults allows you to control the situation. When you are the first to point out your own mistake, you take away the other person's opportunity to criticize you. Instead of being on the defensive, you maintain the initiative and win their goodwill. Carnegie shared that when you quickly admit your fault, even exaggerating your own shortcomings more than the other person intended, you disarm them. The natural human reaction when seeing someone humbling themselves is to feel compassion and tolerance. Second, admitting your mistakes shows that you are honest and mature. In a world where many people shift blame, the courage to take responsibility is rare and admirable. It not only elevates your personal image but also builds a solid foundation of trust in your relationships. Third, being honest about mistakes opens the door for improvement. When you hide your mistakes, you get stuck in a cycle of excuses and defensiveness, hindering growth. But when you admit them, you free yourself from psychological burden and focus on making amends. How to admit mistakes effectively? Be completely honest, no covering up or minimizing. Be quick, the sooner the better, before things get worse. Be proactive, don't wait for others to discover or force you to admit. Be sincere, admit it wholeheartedly. Not mechanically. Commit to fix it, clearly express your willingness to correct the mistake and learn from it. Carnegie emphasized, when you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. Nothing makes people more pleased than seeing others admit their faults. Admitting your mistakes doesn't make you small. On the contrary, it makes you bigger in the eyes of others because you've shown the strength to face the truth. In the art of persuasion, sometimes the greatest power doesn't lie in proving you're right but in the courage to acknowledge when you're wrong. And it is this sincerity, more than any argument, that moves people's hearts. 9. Persuasion secret, suggest instead of command. In the art of communication and persuasion, how you present your request matters as much as the request itself. Dale Carnegie pointed out that if you want others to do something, suggest it rather than command it. Human nature dislikes being forced. Commands easily trigger natural resistance, even if they are reasonable. When people feel imposed upon, their pride is wounded, and they feel compelled to assert their ego by resisting, even doing the opposite. On the other hand, when you suggest instead of commanding, you give the other person a sense of autonomy, making them feel they are making a choice rather than reluctantly obeying. This not only makes the relationship more pleasant but also increases voluntary cooperation. For example, instead of ordering, "Do this now," you could gently suggest, "Do you think we should take care of this now to stay on schedule?" Or, "Could we handle this together today? What do you think?" This softer phrasing doesn't undermine your authority. On the contrary, it shows respect and finesse, creating a sense of partnership rather than dominance. Carnegie emphasized that the best leaders know how to ask instead of command. Instead of saying, "You must do it this way," they ask, "Do you think this way might work better? Or would you be able to try this method?" This approach sparks creativity, encourages initiative, and makes others proud of their contributions. The benefits of suggesting instead of commanding: minimizes conflict, without feeling imposed upon. Others are more cooperative. Increases initiative, people feel they have a choice. Builds mutual respect, you show respect and earn it in return. Encourages creativity, instead of mechanically following orders, people think and contribute ideas. Finally, Carnegie reminded, no one likes to be ordered around. Turn your requests into suggestions, and you'll see cooperation come naturally. In the art of persuasion, a gentle word holds the greatest power. By skillfully suggesting instead of commanding, you not only achieve your goal but also build lasting relationships based on respect and willingness. 10. Persuasion secret, give others a chance to save face. One of the most subtle yet profoundly important principles in the art of persuasion that Dale Carnegie emphasized is this: always give others a chance to save face. This is because self-respect is one of the deepest and most powerful human needs. When you make someone feel humiliated, whether intentionally or unintentionally, you risk losing their trust and cooperation. A person whose self-respect has been hurt will often respond with resistance or even retaliation, rather than cooperating or changing in the direction you hope for. On the other hand, when you skillfully help others maintain their dignity, you preserve their sense of respect and pride, while opening the door to voluntary and positive change. For example, when someone makes a mistake, instead of criticizing them harshly in front of others, you can offer private, respectful feedback. Rather than saying, "You completely messed this up," you might gently suggest, "I think we could try another approach to get a better result." Or, when rejecting a proposal, instead of dismissing it bluntly, you might say, "Your idea is quite interesting, and I believe with a few small adjustments, it could be even better." Carnegie pointed out that in every situation, whether at work or in personal life, you should always ask yourself, how can I help this person preserve their self-respect? Because when you do that, you not only avoid unnecessary conflict, but also earn respect, gratitude, and genuine cooperation from others. Here are some key principles for helping others save face. Offer criticism privately, without embarrassing them in public. Highlight their strengths before pointing out areas for improvement. Give feedback with a constructive mindset, not in a belittling or condescending way. Use gentle language, avoiding harsh or sharp words. Respect the other person's feelings, even when you disagree. Carnegie affirmed, a small act that helps someone save face can have a tremendous impact on maintaining long-term, positive relationships. In the art of persuasion, nothing is more valuable than helping others feel respected, even in the most challenging situations. This is not only a mark of wise communication, it is also a reflection of compassion and inner maturity. This is just the beginning. Follow the page to catch the rest of the series.